Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. It's a bit like deja vu, this announcement, but Daniel Dubois will be facing Razvan Cojanu. That's been announced and confirmed for Friday the 8th of March at the Royal Albert Hall. So they previously had been scheduled to fight in December 2018, but it had to be cancelled after Dubois came down with flu or some similar illness. And what ended up happening was Cojanu ended up fighting Nathan Gorman. Gorman's opponent, Alex Leopai, pulled out, and they fought. And they fought to a 10-round decision to Gorman, clearly to Gorman. Razvan Cojanu, former title contender, didn't really show much, but he showed more than he did against Joseph Parker a couple of years ago. Gorman looked okay, and I'll come to Gorman a bit later because he's got another fight date scheduled, and we'll get to that and a few thoughts for 2019 for him. But we'll focus on the matter at hand, Cojanu and Dubois. So it's rescheduled for the Royal Albert Hall, the 8th of March. So the press release, so at frankwarren.com, press release: Dubois, Adams and Williams to start in Royal Albert Hall return. Rising heavyweight star Daniel Dubois will have his 10th professional fight, and double Olympic gold medalist Nicola Adams will challenge for a first world title on Friday 8 March when Frank Warren proudly returns boxing to the historic surroundings of the Royal Albert Hall. BT Sport will televise live. Liam Williams will also make the first defence of his newly won British middleweight title against Brentwood bruiser and former English champion Joe Mullender. Okay, so the iconic venue, I'll skip past some of this. Sharing top billing will be star-in-the-making Dubois, who faces his toughest test to date in the shape of Romanian giant Razvan Cojanu. The 31-year-old former world title challenger extended Dubois' domestic rival Nathan Gorman to the full 12-round distance in December, having originally been scheduled to fight the young Londoner a week previously before Dubois succumbed to illness. The 16-5 Cojanu has operated at the highest level, and in 2017 he challenged Joseph Parker for the WBO World Heavyweight title and faced Luis Ortiz in July of last year. Okay, so we'll get to some quotes now. The chance to fight at the Royal Albert Hall is a huge thrill for me, and I really hope it is the first of many opportunities to perform there, said the 21-year-old. This is Dubois. I'm fully aware that many of the British heavyweight greats of the past fought at this historic venue, and it will be an honour to follow in the footsteps of the likes of Henry Cooper, Frank Bruno, and Lennox Lewis. I know the Albert Hall was the favourite place to watch boxing for many older fans, so it is brilliant that a new generation will now get the chance to sample the experience too. Pretty sure Dubois didn't actually say that. That's a nice quote written for him though. Where are we? Is there Razvan Cojanu here? No. Okay, there's nothing else down here in terms of quotes to go through. We'll focus on just the heavyweights here, given this is a heavyweight channel, and that's one thing that often some people are surprised about. They don't realise that there's not anything but heavyweight content on this channel. So it is a heavyweight channel, so if that's come as news to you, it is just heavyweights. But if you actually look at a number of other YouTube channels now, I've just noticed this myself, because the heavyweight scene is really on fire at the moment. There's a lot going on, a lot coming through, big names. 60 to 80% of a lot of channels' content is just heavyweight stuff these days, and you'll notice it yourself if you have a look too. Anyway, the fight itself, Cojanu and Dubois. I like it. I liked it the first time. For a 10th professional fight for Daniel Dubois, this is a decent test. Cojanu, he's durable, he's big, he's strong, but he's also highly beatable. I mean, the talk there in the press release about he's fought at the top level, facing Ortiz and facing Parker. He was lucky to get those fights. It was he stepped in at late notice because other opponents had pulled out. So, you know, we don't need to over-egg Razvan Cojanu in terms of his credentials. He's a sparring partner type of opposition these days because he just doesn't do enough in the ring to win rounds. He showed flashes against Nathan Gorman, but he just couldn't put enough together to win any rounds. You know, a few nice body shots here and there, a few nice things, but he'd go into a shell for most of the rest of the round. And there's been some talk about Razvan Cojanu not being able to, you know, get proper sparring and other bits and pieces, but, you know, boo-hoo, you've got to prepare accordingly for these fights. And if you can't, well, there's no one else to blame except either your team or lack of backing or whatever. It just kind of is what it is. If you can't prepare accordingly, well, that's on you. But Daniel Dubois should be able to get through this fight. He probably actually knocks Razvan Cojanu out. I could see a knockout in this fight, a la the Ortiz knockout, where Cojanu, he was absolutely devastated. He has been prone, if you land a big punch on him, albeit this is southpaws he's been more prone to, but if Dubois can hit the sweet spot, Cojanu, he will go. And this fight could provide a little bit of a contrast, or a comparison, I should say, with the Nathan Gorman performance. Gorman was a bit more laboured, started fast, looked decent, but then started to tire, started to really gas, and it's sort of after about the 6th, 7th round, it was kind of a bit samey, and you know, it was what it was. It wasn't a great fight in the end. He looked okay, got the win, it was good experience. There were some concerns about Gorman's gas tank, maybe the punch variety at times, but also the power. And whereas there seems to be not those same sort of questions in regards to power with Daniel Dubois, widely regarded as one of the heaviest hitting up-and-coming prospects on the scene. And the knockout reel tells you that he does hit hard, although some of these guys have been lined up to get knocked over. So if he can knock out Razvan Cojanu, that would be a bit of a statement, but also it provides that comparison with Gorman. And I'm sure if he does devastate Cojanu, some will be making, will instantly get behind Dubois and say, actually, I think he might take care of Nathan Gorman, might be able to knock him out. That would be a good fight down the line. Gorman, decent technician, good skills. Dubois, we don't really know how good he is yet. He's still developing. He just needs to quicken a few things up there. But he's got power, and he's a decent technician himself. He's getting better. He's had a limited amateur career. The best of Daniel Dubois is yet to come, and if he's brought along at the right pace, in the right fights at the right time, he could certainly have a big career. And I like this Cojanu fight for him, because Cojanu, if he takes a few shots, he will go into his shell, and Dubois will be able to get in some rounds here potentially against Razvan Cojanu. And in respect of Nathan Gorman, we'll move on to this. So this is from his Twitter. So Frank Warren presents Nathan Gorman, Saturday 23rd February, Morningside Arena, Leicester. And what was on the Twitter? It was saying Gorman plans showreel KO in Leicester. Heavyweight prospect at Nathan Gorman 96 has been added to the Leicester bill on February the 23rd, where he plans on starting 2019 with a bang and winning with a big KO. So we'll have to see who they pit him against. It's against TBA at the moment. Got to watch TBA, undefeated and very active. And that's, a shame these days. There's a lot of TBA on a lot of cards very late in the piece. So hopefully it's a decent-ish opponent. He's fighting guys like Razvan Cojanu in his last fight. Hopefully it will be at a similar level where, the guy's tough, durable, and hopefully as well it's going to be another guy that's a bit bigger than him, because most of the guys in the division right now that are sort of carrying any weight, the big-time contenders, are 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 6'8". Gorman, a bit smaller, 6'3". He will need to be facing a lot of these guys to get the practice punching up, but also getting used to, a number of different things against those bigger heavyweights. But Nathan Gorman, he does have a bright future in the division. Sure, there's a few questions about him, but he's a prospect still. But he is entering that phase right now where he's emerging from that prospect phase into the fringe contender level stage. And if he can have some decent fights in the first half of the year, we could be talking about Nathan Gorman by the end of the year as a fully minted contender. Another 3 or 4 fights, he'll be, 17, 18, 19-0, something like that. I think he's 14-0 at the moment, or 15-0. Nathan Gorman, he could be in the conversation in 2020 for a couple of decent fights. And hopefully down the line, one of those will be Daniel Dubois. There certainly is a bit of a rivalry there. And the Cojanu fight, because it'll be a common opponent, that will certainly stoke the fires of that rivalry, especially if Cojanu is sparked out by Dubois early on in that fight, whereas Gorman sort of laboured to a decision in the end, gassing. Didn't look so great in the second half of that fight, but it was what it was. Good learning opportunity. And if Dubois is taken the rounds by Cojanu, that's by no means a failure either. I think a lot of people are expecting him just to blast out every guy that he faces, and that's just not going to happen. Sometimes you can't knock everyone out, the styles don't mesh or whatever, or people get uber defensive, go into their shell, you don't get the opportunities you might against someone, who actually throws some punches. We saw Kevin Johnson completely in his shell against Dubois. Dubois put a beating on him, but still couldn't get him out of there. Anyway, I'll leave it there, but Gorman back in action Saturday, 23rd of February at the Morningside Arena in Leicester, and we have Daniel Dubois on a card for the Royal Albert Hall on Friday, the 8th of March. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.